everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to start paper crafting, which is where you take heavy cardstock and you can make little figures out of them. So this is just paper. This is a little Yoshi I made. He's a little older, so he's a little worse for wear right now. Totally adorable. They're pretty easy to make. A lot of them come with nice instructions, so I mean they're not super bad. They are, there's tons of patterns online that you can find, and I'll give you an idea of that later, where you can get some of those from, and just the tools that you'll need to start and how you can make them. I showed these on Instagram. As you can see, the Hello Kitty is much bigger than the Yoshi. So, but to start paper crafting, it's not a super expensive hobby, because once you have some of the tools, you will have them forever. Like you would want a cutting board of some sort, even just like your kitchen, you might have a cutting board in the kitchen. You could use this one I picked up at Walmart a while back for maybe $10, but it's nice, it works, but we do cutting, so you want to have something, and we also do some indenting of lines to help with the folding of the figure when you're done. So cutting board would be awesome, but just check your kitchen. I mean, any cutting board would be good. You would also want to have some tools for denting lines. There are either these ones, which are embossing tools, which I picked up from Michael's. They're Martha Stewart's brand, I think. They might have been $10 for all three of them. You don't have to have something like this. You just need to have you know, something that you can, the edge of a pen, the tip of a blunt scissors would work, and really you might not necessarily have to do it if you don't like to. I just think it makes it easier for the folding if you've already kind of pre-dented the lines. So these are nice to have. They come in the set of 3, but I really only use the smallest one with a little tiny tip on it, little tiny ball end on it. Or you can also get one of these, the boning tool for folding. It's in paper crafting. They use it quite a bit. This is also a Martha Stewart brand one. It's the only one I've seen without having to order online. This was also at Michael's. But it's just for denting the lines, and I'll show you what I mean as we go along a little bit further. You also will want an X-Acto knife or a utility knife of some sort that is sharp to cut out the pieces. Some of the pieces or projects you do, you might not need one of these, because you might be able to get just a regular old scissors into where the design is. Like I have a pair of scissors that is just for paper, since everybody likes to try and cut weird things with my scissors and dull the edges, but a little set of scissors that are sharp would be good, or just a regular set. And then you will want glue, and all you need is plain old Elmer's glue to put them together. And you also want toothpicks, which I think I lost mine, but a toothpick would be good, or anything that you can use to dab the glue on. So I mean, that's the basis of what you want, is something to dent the pieces with for the folding to make it a little easier, something to cut out the pieces, and then to glue them together, and then something to cut on. So the patterns themselves, they look like this when you print them out. This is actually the pattern for the giant Hello Kitty that I showed earlier. Like this is part of her head. Here's another head one. I think this is her, starting to get into her feet and her body. So I mean, they might look a little crazy, but they aren't super complicated. Like when you get to the small ones, it might be like, that's kind of crazy, but like this is part of her hands. So I mean, this one took quite a few sheets to print out on, but it's not for a big project like this that it might take that many. But I think like this little guy, he was only 2 pages, So it's the bigger the project, the more sheets you use. I am working on one that's almost 40 sheets, which is a very long process, but definitely worth it. I just print these out on white because I like to paint them when I'm done, kind of added little fun to it. A lot of times the patterns that you'll find are, they're already colored in. Sometimes it's kind of a pain because depending on the file type, like if it's a PDF, you can't really get rid of the color, so you have to do some fancy saving to figure out how to, so you can print it in just black and white. Otherwise, if you want to use color ink, you can do that too. I just find that color ink is very expensive. If you use a lot of it, it'll definitely become an expensive hobby versus a fairly inexpensive one by just printing out in black and white and then using paint. I mean, a paint kit with 20 colors in it, you can pick up at Walmart for like $10 or something, and then that'll last quite a while. So, but then there is also like I use white for like the patterns like these that I'm going to paint, but sometimes a lot of us in school, we've already made designs using this kind of technique. We've made the cubes or the duodecahedrons. We've already made a lot of these things, it's just we don't think of that this is the same as those little cubes that we made in art class or in math class. But you can also get colored papers as well, or colored cardstock. It's a little bit more expensive, but if you plan to do a whole project and you just want it to be, you want your whole cube to be blue, you just buy a blue one. The only downfall is you have to make sure that it is something that when you print on it, you'll be able to see the colors. So, I'll give you an idea of some of the things that I do to prepare to making something. If we look at this design right here that we have, so this is part of actually her head, I believe. And we have these dotted lines that go up through the middle, and we have these straight, solid lines around the outside. If you look at this, the dotted lines are ones that we are going to fold, or that will be folded. So I usually not on top of each other though, I usually go through and just run a tool over it to make a little score mark there. So that when we cut this out, we can easily bend it to the direction that we want. Sometimes, we might crease it this way and then we have to fold it another way. It's fine that way. So all the dotted lines on a pattern, I usually go ahead and score them. And then as you're looking at the pattern here, you see these are your tabs for how you're going to glue it to the next piece. So when you're done, I usually go through and I do the entire pattern and score all the pieces, and then after I'm done, I'll just start cutting them out. Some of the times, like the paper, like some of the designs here, where was one of them? Some of the paper, there's big sections that I haven't used anything. I save these parts so that I can kind of cut them into little squares to put my glue on, and then I just use that, put a little glue on there, and then I use my toothpick to apply it to the pieces. That way I'm not wasting any paper and I don't have to worry about using glue trays and trying to get it out of the bottle and things like that. So big sections, save them, just put them aside, and you can use them to put your glue on. But you just would cut them out next to your tabs. Fast forward as I cut through here, but it's nice if you have little scissors so you can get into the creases of some of the more intricate parts. Like this one's pretty easy. I can get in there with my big scissors and cut it out without too much trouble. But when you get to pieces on other ones here, like these little ones right here, they get to be kind of a pain with the big scissors. Generally what I do is I cut around these and just make little cut around them, and then I cut them out individually out of the little piece I cut out. Use the scissors or use the X-Acto knife just because it's a little bit easier, and a lot of times with big scissors, unless you stop cutting before you get to the end of where you're at. Although my scissors are nice and sharp, so they're not going to do it for me now. But generally what happens when you cut, and if you don't stop, you end up with like the little kind of torn piece right at the crease at the end. So that that can affect how tight your corners are. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to take you over to my computer and I'll show you some of the sites that I use and some of the differences in the files. I am not going to buy the expensive software to record what I'm doing on my screen. I'm just going to use my camera to record it while I'm holding it. And I know there are free versions, but they're all full of spyware that likes to tape or label and advertise themselves on stuff, and that annoys me. So we're going to go over to my computer and I'll give you an idea of some of the programs and kind of show you a little bit more about the Hello Kitty and how you can put that together. So I'll head over there. Okay, so when you get files for the Papercraft stuff, you're going to either get them in PDF format, which is what this Lego guy is, and they're going to be all colored. You can see, like, when they're colored, it gives a little bit better idea of where pieces are. Like, this is part of the Lego head, and then these parts right here are the tabs that you would be gluing around to make the top of his head. And then, of course, a lot of these also come with pretty detailed instructions of how to put them together. So this one's pretty. This one I think is, how many pages? 18 pages of pattern. It's a very big Lego guy though, so but they're very, very detailed, very cool. But this is a PDF format, and you'll find these at a lot of sites will have you download these. I'm not as big of a fan of these because I can't change the colors as easily as I can using PDO files, which I'll show you in a moment what those are. But these work just as well for a lot of things too. And of course, you can always print it out in your black and white and then still paint it or decorate it however you want to. So there's my Lego guy. And here are some sites that have tons of Papercraft on them. Nintendo Craft, blogspot.com. This obviously focuses on Nintendo stuff, Mario, Zelda. So they're definitely, but all these things that you see are actually Papercraft that you can print out and make yourself. So they're pretty cool. And this site actually tells you the page number of how many pages it will take to make the design. And then here is Paper Pokes, which is another really cool one that has, it's all focused on the Pokemon. And give you an idea here, all of these are made into Papercraft. So this is generation 1, and they have all of them pretty much, I think. Let's see, not as many generation 6, but and give you an idea of all the images that they have. Which one did I like? This one. So here's Scissor. I mean, this is Papercraft, just paper. So it's very, very cool too. This is a good site if you like the Pokemon stuff. And then this one is actually from Canon, their Creative Park. And all of these are Papercraft toys and items and stuff. Some of these are neat because, like this one right here, I think this one is actually a movable toy. They had a couple of them that were actually movable paper items. That was kind of cool. And I will put all the links to the places that I'm showing you down below in the description so you can check those out. But I mean, there's tons of different things to Papercraft. Cars. Here's a cool Ferris wheel. So, I mean, I love doing this stuff because it's so neat, and you know, you're turning paper of all things into these 3D structures. That's pretty awesome. And these, I think, mostly are downloaded in PDF format as well. So they're not, they'll have the color, but there are ways to get around to getting out the color. It's just, takes a little bit more time. And some of them will give you the option of having just the color or non-color too. But now a lot of the files are part of a Pepakura designer program, which is a Japanese program that been a while ago now, because it's been over 7 years, I think, since I've been papercrafting. So they were a Japanese company, and they changed over and they started doing an English version. And this is how you will view some of the files that you get. I'll put the link for this down in the description below. I haven't had any issues with them spamming me or anything like that, or any kind of malware with it, otherwise I wouldn't recommend it. But you can download either one of the designer or the viewer. The viewer says it's free, and it is totally free. But you can also download the designer one. It's just that you won't be able to export your work. So like if you want to actually play around with it and see how to create the 3D objects, you could do that, but you just wouldn't be able to save it or export it. So it's kind of like you get to play and get to see what to do, but you can't save any of your work. So, but if you did want to buy it, it's $38, so it's not horrible if you really, really got into it, but you don't necessarily need it, especially if you're just going to use stuff that other people do. But I will put the links down below for this as well, because you will need it to open up some files, like that Hello Kitty that I was working on. This is the Pepakura designer, and here's the Hello Kitty. And if I right click on it, I can turn her around and flip her and change the way she looks. This is all the pattern pieces, so if I could print it out, I could print it out in color and it looks like this. Or I can change it and take away the color, so then I can print it in black and white as well, and it's super easy that way. Another cool thing about this program is that a lot of the Papercraft that you'll download, sometimes they don't have instructions and you kind of just have to wing it as far as how to put them together. But what's cool about when you have a PDO file like this, for like the Hello Kitty, I can click on a piece and it will highlight. It turned out red. Let's see it from the back, a little easier because it'll highlight red of where that piece goes. And here's where the next one goes right there. So you get a better idea of where they are. I mean, obviously the flowers right there in the front of her. I changed some setting in here so that my black is outlined in red, and I have to figure out how to do that or get rid of it again. Like, there's the center of the flower, and like right here, if I click on this black spot over here, it's the underside of her dress. And then we have, here's part of a foot. So I mean, it's a pretty cool program, and if you really could get into it. And this is what people use to design the papercrafts that you do use. I also put the link below for where I found the Hello Kitty from. It is kind of a weird site when you go to it. It's like a Japanese writing site, and you can't really, it's not in English, and you can't translate the page. So I haven't had any problems clicking the link. Hopefully you don't either for it, but basically it's just it is a PDO file, so like I said, you will have to have like the Pepakura designer, which is free. It's just that you have to download it. So, but there are tons of sites to use. You can just do searches for Papercraft and you will find lots of different programs. I've only showed a couple of sites that I look at. There's papercraft.net and a few other ones. We'll go back over to my desk here and we'll talk a little bit more, and then I'll be done boring you, I suppose, since this is mostly me talking. So hold on. Alright, so welcome back. I'm going to run over here. So like I said, it's once you have the paper, which I bought one with over 100 sheets, or a package with over 100 sheets from Walmart, and it was $6. The color was more expensive. It was only, I want to say 100 sheets for I think it was almost $6 or $7, maybe even $8. It's more expensive. But there's also other stores like Office Depot and Office Max, and any office supply store that has cardstock, they should have those as well. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, I do it because I just kind of, or I use it because I kind of, when I get all into something, I like to have certain tools, but you really don't need a lot of them. I mean, a lot of us, or you're on my channel because you rainbow loom, a lot of us, you could just use, if you have the metal tipped one, use the edge of your rainbow loom hook for the scoring of the fold lines on the designs. So, I mean, there's lots of different things that you can use to achieve the same goals of finishing a project. So I mean, it's and it's not really a heavy, like really fold it. You just want to, you can like barely feel the bump. But then again, it's not totally necessary, like I said. So I mean, you don't necessarily need these tools. You can find something around the house for them. For my scissors, it's nice to have a good pair of scissors and a smaller pair of scissors to get into like the little tiny corners of things. Not totally necessary, especially if you have the X-Acto knife. You know, you can kind of go vice versa. You know, have either both pairs of scissors or an X-Acto knife, and then you'd be able to cut out the pieces the same way without worrying about kind of messing up any lines or anything like that. And then school glue. I mean, this is less than $1 usually, and it lasts quite a while because you only use a tiny amount to get these to stay together. This video is more just kind of introducing you to it, maybe getting you some of the things together, and then if I see that there's some more interest in it, I will definitely explain a little bit more and put some more detail into actually connecting the pieces together. And you know, maybe I'll do it with something simple that I can have you go download and print out, like a box or something like that. So then it'd be, you get the idea of it, and then as you get that, then the more advanced designs will be much easier for you to do too. So, and then like I said, the cutting board might not need it at all. If you can use, we have like plastic kitchen cutting boards upstairs that we use too, or a wood cutting board. Just anything that if you're going to use the X-Acto knife to cut on, or if you're going to do the scoring, you probably don't want to do that right on top of a nice desk or something like that. So, also, I will say too, the big figures, the bigger they are, the less stable they are. So generally, you want to fill the bottom with something. Rice is usually good, or beans. You can put them in like a piece of cut-off pantyhose or something like that. Or I think this one I just poured the rice in. So, which worked out well, because now she's got her own little maracas. But, so I mean, that's just to help them stand up so they're not so unstable. Because it is paper, but I think it's amazing what you can do with just paper and painting, and it kind of gives you more creative outlet of the things that you can do with crafting. And this is a project where you can work on it and put it aside, you know, and get to it as you can. It's not something that it's fairly compact. You can put it away fairly easily. So I think I love it. So, and then before I send you away, I will show you one of my other paper crafts that I worked on a while ago. So one moment. So here lastly is a couple other things that I made. This is a sweet Bowser, a pokey. See my hand compared to the size of him. Turned out awesome. It's a lot of pieces, but it was totally worth it. I love the shell, and I wish I would have just made the shell all by itself almost. So it turned out very nice. And just here's a little bomb-bomb. Oops. Little bomb-bomb buddy for him. So super cute. This one was pretty easy. But I mean, there are tons of these that you can do. I have to dig out some of mine from storage to be able to show you guys more, because I have too many crafts and not enough space. So this guy, he always sits on my dresser because I really like how he turned out. But I hope that you got a little bit of interest in doing some paper crafting. I think it's an awesome activity, and it's not super expensive, which I think is the main key really, because if the hobby is expensive, you're not going to stick with it. So, but I definitely want to thank you for watching, and if you want to let me know what you think, you can share that with me on my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic, or on my Facebook page, which is feelinspiffy or Crafting Fantastic. There's a link underneath the video. And then, of course, if you subscribe to my channel and you're interested in having more tutorials kind of about paper crafting and stuff, you can let me know that way, and then you'll know when I have more things out for you. So I want to thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you are inspired to start doing some other crafting as well. Thanks.